Good evening, Husky fans. Welcome to Madison as the Huskies take on the Bulldogs this evening. We are just finishing up with some warm-ups. We got about a minute to game time. I'm going to run through the roster. I don't have the starting lineups, so I'm going to go through each team's roster, and then when we get starting lineups announced here, we'll zoom in and follow along. So for the hosting team, the Madison Lady Bulldogs, they are coached by Jill Kratovo, assisted by Katie Wildryer and Nicole Saringer. Managers are Nick Kappenman and Kate Klein, with statisticians McKenna Shaw and Devaney Shaw. Video provided by Ainsley Allen and Lucy Gores. Number 1, a freshman positioned at setter, 5'4", Carly Theed. Number 2, Ella Peterains, a junior outside hitter at 5'7". Number 3, Kate Johnson, a sophomore outside hitter at 5'7". Number 4, Callie McDermott, a junior defensive specialist, 5'6". Number 5, Caden Zenz, a junior defensive specialist, 5'1". Number 6, Carly Lurs, a junior middle hitter, 5'7". Number 8, Megan Schoenberg, a senior outside hitter, 5'7". Number 9, Eliasthus, a sophomore at outside hitter, 5'7". Number 10, Audrey Nelson, a junior middle hitter, standing 6'1". Number 11, Amanda Vacanti, a junior at setter and outside hitter, 5'10". Number 12, Kiara Wagner, junior defensive specialist at 5'2". Number 13, Reese Wilt, a junior outside hitter, 5'10". Number 14, Lindsay King, a sophomore middle hitter, 5'6". Number 15, Lydia Nelson, freshman outside hitter and a setter, 5'11". Number 19, Macy Theed, a senior defensive specialist, 5'4". We're looking at number 19, Macy Theed. She's actually going to be wearing the libero jersey this evening. And now for your EPJ Huskies, coached by Aaron Cooper, assisted by Tammy Gehring and Alicia Loyland. And for our EPJ Huskies, we are going to pause for the national anthem at this time, and we will continue with lineups. Our flag is unable to be viewed at this time by the camera angle that I have here, so we are gonna wing it this evening. work there by one of Madison's own. Get lined up back here. All right, for your starting lineups for your Huskies, number 0, Alyssa Kitka, senior at libero. Number 2, Danica Torres, a senior outside hitter. Number 5, Caitlin Van Rokel, a sophomore this year at defensive specialist. Number 10, Sophia Giorgio, a senior at setter. Number 11, Josie Curry, a senior, playing right setter. Number 13, Bentley Kohlbaum, a sophomore outside hitter. Number 16, sorry about that. Number 16, Natalie Heyertz, a junior at middle hitter. Other players on the team this evening, number 1, Courtney Brewer, a sophomore. Number 3, Sarah Schmitz, a freshman. Number 6, Hannah Neerman, a junior. Number 12, Ashley Brewer, a sophomore. Number 14, Jesmarie Stoltz-Praster, a senior. Number 15, Madison Wenger, a junior. We will pause here real quick for a commercial break from our sponsors.
All the best sports shows, all the best games on 101.5 FM and 1570 AM for your college sports, University of South Dakota. For NHL coverage, Minnesota Wild. For NBA coverage, Minnesota Timberwolves. For MLB coverage, Chicago Cubs. And the best games in both college and the pros with the ESPN Radio featured games. Never miss out on the action.
Madison wrapping up their starting lineups.
Number 19, senior Missy Dean. Head coach for the Lady Bulldogs.
Want to remind Husky fans out there that we will be hosting Redfield on Thursday, October 27th, in the second round of playoffs. Kickoff is, I believe, kickoff is going to be at 6 p.m. on Thursday, October 27th, and the winner will advance to the semifinals the following week. We are hopeful that we'll be at home again that week as well, which would be amazing. Wanted to give a quick shout out to Coach Newhart and Coach Cross as they head to Huron tomorrow for the state meet. Joe Cross is running at 1:30 tomorrow, and Ashley Stark runs at noon tomorrow. So good luck to those athletes as they finish their cross-country season tomorrow at the state meet in Huron. I apologize. You guys are stuck with me. I have nobody to talk to, so I don't even have anybody to banter with. So I'm just sitting here telling you guys what's going on, and you can see what's going on your screen. So bear with me when I run out of things to talk about. We are getting going here as who lines up to serve. Getting the rosters and the official call at the table down there as the officials check the lineups. Coach Cooper with a few last wise words for her players. Still making some last minute adjustments. And we We are going to get going here in just a brief minute. Alyssa Kitka checks in for Natalie Heyerts. And Madison Bulldogs will start off with the serve, number 5. To serve for the Bulldogs, Callie McDermott. McDermott sends it over to Torres. Giorgio sets it up, and Curry with the attempt over. That is going to be 1 for EPJ. I missed it. I thought that rolled into the net on our side. Giorgio to serve. Sends it over to McDermott. Alyssa Kitka with the dive over to Giorgio. Brewer sends it over. Torres to Giorgio. Kohlbaum sends it over and out. That's going to be a point for the Bulldogs. You got to get these numbers memorized here quick. No, that's point for us. Okay. Giorgio sends it back over. And 11 is going to send it out. Amanda Vacanti. Huskies lead 3-0 here in the first set. Giorgio steps back to serve. Giorgio gets under it, over to Kitka. Kohlbaum sends it over. Screened at the net and missed by Ellie Ostis. Giving us a 4th point here this evening. Giorgio to serve. Tipped over. Giorgio under it. Kitka. Over to Kohlbaum. And that's going to go out. Oh, I apologize. Number 5 is Cadence Zenz. I missed that. Number 11 to serve, Amanda Vacanti. Vacanti sends it over to Kohlbaum. Sends it over in 1. Vacanti under it. And Kitka is going to miss that dive there. 4-2. That was number 10. That was Audrey Nelson. Vacanti back to serve. Kitka to Giorgio. Sets it up for Brewer. Tips it over. Excellent dive by the Bulldogs. Kitka to Giorgio. Kohlbaum's going to send that out. Vacanti back to serve. Vacanti sends it over, and that's going to go out. Huskies recover the serve. Curry checks out. Natalie Heyerts checks in as Kitka steps back to serve. Zenz to Vacanti. And Ostis sends that over. Heyerts at the net there, tips it up. Nice recovery. Brewer, and then Kohlbaum. It's going to be screened by the Bulldogs there. Head right back over. Got some Bulldogs checking out. Number 19, Macy Theed, sets up to serve. Over. Kitka to Giorgio. Brewer tips it over, and they're going to call that under the net. Going to tie it up here, 5-5, as Theed steps back to serve. Torres sends that back as Bulldogs take the lead. Theed back to serve. Torres to Giorgio. Kohlbaum sends it over. And Vacanti with the dive, just not enough. We're going to tie it up 6-all as Kohlbaum checks out and Neerman checks in. Hannah Neerman back to serve. Zans over to Vacanti. Zans sends it over. Kitka to Giorgio. Heyerts sends it, rolls it over. Vacanti, number 8 there. Schoenberg sends it over. Kitka with the dive. That's going to get away from her, and we're going to go with Bulldogs taking the lead. Nelson back to serve for the Lady Bulldogs. Neerman. They're going to call that a lift. It's going to be a point for the Bulldogs as they continue to serve. Nelson steps back, sends it over. Brewer to Giorgio. Heyerts with the tip, finds that empty space there. Excellent work. Brewer checks out as Van Rokel checks back in. Feed to Vacanti. Blocked at the net by Torres. Vacanti. Bulldogs send it over. Neerman to Giorgio. Torres spikes it over, and they're going to call that for the Huskies as they tipped it and sent it flying out of bounds. Van Rokel back to serve. Feed gets under it. Vacanti sets it up for Lurs. Huskies going to take that 1-point lead. Van Rokel continues her serve. Feed to Vacanti. Sends it over to Neerman on the dive. That's going to put him back to tie it up. Carly Feed in to serve. Feed sends it over. Van Rokel on the dive. Kitka over to Torres. Feed to Feed. And then over to Schoenberg. Giorgio sets it up. Torres sends it over. Feed gets under it. Back to her sister. And then we are volleying it back and forth. Neerman with the recovery. Giorgio. Torres sends it over. Feed sends it over in 2. Van Rokel to Giorgio to Heyerts. That's going to go out. But I think it was touched, so we are going to take a 1-point lead here as Heyerts steps back to serve. Feed on the dive, not going to be quick enough, so we are going to take a 2-point lead here in Madison in this first set, 11-9. Heyerts steps back to serve. Feed gets under it to 11. Vacanti. Huskies celebrate their point there. And Heyerts steps back to serve. Feed to Feed. Over to Vacanti. Heyerts gets under it. Giorgio sets it up for Curry. Feed gets under that one. Sends it to her sister. Vacanti blocked at the net there by Torres and Curry. Then Neerman under it to Giorgio. Tipped over the net by Curry, and Bulldogs are going to get 2 hits. We're going to take a timeout here as the coach for the Bulldogs calls one. We'll be back after these messages.
Elk Point native Dr. Devin Penfield and the team at the dentist at Elk Point believe that your family deserves the highest level of dental care in a friendly and relaxing atmosphere. That's why they're happy to provide the community with a low-stress, comfortable dental home. Patients are loving and having the latest technology in a small-town setting. Dr. Penfield and her team enjoy serving such a wonderful community. Schedule your appointment today by calling 605-356-2271.
And we are back. Heyerts Hyerts lines up to serve. Huskies lead 13-9. Bacanti to feed to Nelson, who sends it over. Giorgio sends it back over. Feed to feed. And Bacanti sends it back. Neerman to Giorgio and Curry with the spike. Nelson to Curry. Bacanti gets under it. Little confusion there. And that is going to be attempted by Megan Schoenberg. Not quite going to get it over there. Nice blockage at the net by our Husky girls. 14-9. EPJ leads. Problem with the net. Something's loose. Loose antenna is what I'm overhearing. We'll get that all situated and fixed up here. Good eye by those who maintain the equipment here. Hyerts sends it over to Nelson. Over to feed. And Schoenberg is going to send that one out. Hyerts checks out as Kitka checks back in. I guess that is not our point. Kiara Wagner to serve. Wagner sends it over. Neerman. Giorgio sets it up. Curry tips it over. And she finds that weak spot. 15-10. Huskies in the lead. Neerman checks out. Kohlbaum checks back in. Torres back to serve. Feed gets under it. Over Kitka to Van Rokel. Kohlbaum sends it over. And they're going to find that hole. And it's going to land right there on that line. Call that in. We have a substitution as Zans checks in for Lurs. Zenz checks in for Lurs. Zenz steps back to serve. Kitka gets under it. Giorgio sets it up. Kohlbaum with the power arm. Zenz gets under that. Feed over to Nelson. Giorgio sets it up for Curry. Sets it way over to the back there. Feed to Nelson. Sends it over. Giorgio with the overhead tip. That's going to go out of bounds, unfortunately. It's a good move, and Giorgio has been hitting those lately. Zenz over to near Van Rokel. Kohlbaum sends it over. Blocked at the net and bounced off and out of bounds, which is going to give us a 4-point lead. Van Rokel checks out. Giorgio steps back to serve. Oh, somebody wasn't where they were supposed to be, apparently. Giorgio sends it over. Feed. Nelson. Excellent spike. Torres was on top of it. Brewer sent it over. Kitka. Over to Giorgio. Brewer. Blocked at the net by... and then tipped. But then I believe she touched the net or was under the net or through the net. That's going to go point to Bulldogs. Feed checks out as Lydia Nelson checks in. Vacanti back to serve. And that is going to hit the net. That is going to be a point. EPJ. Kitka steps back to serve as Josie Curry checks out. I believe Hyerts came in for her. Vacanti with the recovery. Nelson sent that over. Hyerts with an excellent slam. Good recovery by the Bulldogs. Torres to Giorgio. And Kohlbaum She's got a great power arm. That's going to unfortunately go out of bounds there. Huskies still with the 4-point lead. Feed steps back to serve. Kitka gets under it. Giorgio over to Kohlbaum. Tips and blocked at the net there by Nelson and Schoenberg. Unfortunately, that's going to slip back through them. Huskies will recover the serve. Neerman checks in as Kohlbaum checks out. Hannah Neerman on the serve. Zenz. It's going to send it over, and it's tipped back down at the net by Heyerts and Brewer. Huskies break the 20-point mark as they have a significant lead here in this first set. Neerman. Vacanti at the net. Nelson sends it over. Kitka gets under it in one. Tipped it over by Nelson. Torres sends it over. A little bit of miscommunication there. They're going to recover that, send it over. Brewer gets under it. Giorgio with the tip. She's going to touch the net there, so they're going to go point to the Bulldogs. Got a rotation here, or a substitution. Zenz checks out as Lurs checks in. Nelson here. Audrey is going to step back to serve. Sends it over to Brewer. Giorgio gets under it. Torres tips it over. Vacanti gets under it. A little frustrated there. She knew it was out after she'd hit it. Lots of confusion there happening on the net and the Bulldog floor. Van Rokel steps back to serve. Send that over to Nelson, to Vacanti. And Lydia Nelson is going to send that out. We'll call a quick timeout. We'll take one along with them. You are watching EPJ Husky Volleyball, brought to you by Fuller Digital Solutions.
Todd's Electric Service, with shops in Pierre and Vermilion. We offer a full spectrum of electrical services covering Central, North Central, and Southeast South Dakota. We are licensed, insured, and ready to work on your agricultural, commercial, or residential project. Need a quote? Give us a call. Todd's Electric Service, the line to power.
Welcome back, Husky fans. We are here in Madison, South Dakota, as the Huskies take on the Bulldogs. Van Rokel back to serve. It's 22-15 here. Blocked at the net by Heyerts. 23-15 here in this first set. Van Rokel back to serve. Nelson gets under it. Vacanti sets it up for Nelson. And that's going to land in a EPJ weak spot. Point to the Bulldogs. Feed checks in for Lydia Nelson. Feed back to serve. Sends it over and out. Good eye there. We are at match point. Huskies send in Josie Curry, and Kitka checks out. Natalie Heyerts steps back to serve. Vacanti gets under it in one. Curry tips it over. Feed back to Vacanti. Van Rokel sends it over. Bulldogs at the net. Feed sends it over. Heyerts over to Giorgio. Torres is going to get some power under there. A little bit too much power, though. So it's going to go out. Heyerts checks out. Kiara Wagner back to serve. Wagner sends it over. Neerman to Giorgio. Sets it up for Curry. Blocked at the net. Unfortunately not going to work out in their favor. Van Rokel gets under it. Giorgio over to Torres. Blocked at the net by the Bulldogs. And Van Rokel on the attempted recovery there. Not quite going to make that one. Wagner steps back to serve. Van Rokel, Giorgio. Curry sets it over. Nelson to Theed. To Lurs. Kitka gets under it. Giorgio over to Torres. Sends it over. Theed at the net. Ostis sends it over. Going to take another quick timeout here.
Quality care close to home. That's Horizon Healthcare in Elk Point. For immunizations and well child visits to family health, we're right here for all ages with convenient hours and timely appointments. Local care for you and your family makes life easier with less travel, greater personal attention, and overall wellness for life. That's Horizon Healthcare's Elk Point Community Health Center.
And we are back. Bulldogs take the court. Wagner gets ready to set up for serving. Wagner sends it over. Van Rokel to Neerman. Curry sets it over. Wagner to Theed. And Ostis with the attempt to get it over, and that's going to be game point for Huskies. We'll take a quick commercial break as they set up for the second set.
Vermilion Medical Clinic is your trusted hometown healthcare provider. Family medicine, 10 visiting specialists, Vermilion's only pediatrician, and expanded convenient care hours. Because illness and injury don't keep office hours. Vermilion Medical Clinic. So much care, so close to home.
And we are back. Huskies take the first set, 25-19, here in Madison. During our regular season matchups. We're going to get into postseason here pretty quick. We have I believe one more regular season game against Vermilion next week, and then we get into volleyball playoff season. I believe, if I've got my schedule here, we will play Vermilion on Tuesday. That will be in Vermilion. And then volleyball playoff action starts Tuesday, November 1st. Teams, times, and locations to be determined. Teams get set up here. Officials checking player numbers and positions. Kitka checks in for Heyerts, and Danica Torres steps back to serve. And we are off and running in this second set. That's going to go right through them and in. Huskies will take the first point of this second set. And Torres steps back to serve. Torres over to Zenz, to Theed, and then Ostis is going to send that over. Huskies make a nice recovery. Curry sends it over. Zenz to Theed. And Nelson's going to miss that tip. Point, Huskies. Danica steps back to serve. Zenz to Theed. Over to Vacanti. Torres gets under it, sends it to Giorgio. Curry tips it over. Nelson to Theed. Vacanti sends it over. Giorgio to Kohlbaum. Kohlbaum's going to power that over as the Bulldogs try to get a piece of it, giving us our third point of this second set. Torres gets set up, sends it over, and Zenz on the dive, just not going to be quick enough. Torres sends it over. It's going to go over Zenz's head. They're going to hesitate there on whether to call it in or out. It's going to give us our 5th point. Number 7 checking in, and number 7's not on my roster unless she's JV. I believe that might be Chloe Sargent. Torres sends it over to Sargent to Feed, and Nelson with the high jump power arm. That was an excellent hit there by the Bulldogs. Vacanti steps back to serve for the Lady Bulldogs. Sends it over to Kitka. Giorgio gets it up, set up for Kohlbaum. Sargent got a piece of that one. Got a substitution, or Ben Rokel checks out and Brewer checks in. Giorgio sends it over. Vacanti sends it to Nelson. Kitka gets under that. Torres sets it up for Kohlbaum. Kohlbaum's going to send that one out. Megan Schoenberg checks in for Kiara Wagner. Feed sends it over. Kitka to Giorgio. Kohlbaum. And Feed is going to regret that decision there as Huskies take another point. I'm pretty sure that one was out too. They're sometimes hard to call. You just never know. Kitka steps back to serve. Sargent gets under it to Vacanti. Nelson's going to send that over, but it's going to go. Believe the trajectory was on its way out, but the Huskies grabbed a piece of that. 3-7 here with the Huskies in the lead. Nelson steps back to serve. You don't often see players serve from that side of the court, so it's always nice because the camera gets it then. Torres to Giorgio. Hyatt sends it over. That's going to be missed there. So 4 points for the Lady Bulldogs. Huskies lead 7-4. As Nelson steps back to serve. Torres to Giorgio. Sets it up for Kohlbaum. Vacanti gets under it to Feed. Not Feed. Nelson. Huskies gain another point. Kohlbaum checks out as Neerman checks in to serve. Feed to Vacanti. Blocked at the net there by Heyerts and Brewer. Kitka to Giorgio. Heyerts sends it in, and that is going to be 9 points. 9-4 here in the second set. Neerman steps back to serve. Feed to Vacanti. Nelson sends it over. Hannah Neerman with the attempt there. Just going to send that behind her into the bleachers. Bulldogs take the serve. Feed sends it over. Neerman to Giorgio. Over to Brewer. Feed to Feed. And then Nelson sends it over. Looks like there was a little bit of communication there. Kitka to Giorgio. Danica sends it over, finds the hole. Huskies break into the double digits. Ashley Brewer checks out as Caitlin Van Rokel checks in. Caitlin sets up to serve. Feed. Sets it up to her sister. 8 takes it across. Schoenberg, Kitka, and then Heyerts tips it over. Schoenberg on the dive there. Doesn't quite make it. 11-5 here in the second set. Van Rokel continues to serve. Caitlin sends it over. Feed to Feed to Bacanti. Van Rokel on a nice dive there. Kitka to Giorgio. Heyerts and Bacanti at the net. That's going to go in favor of Madison. Schoenberg checks out as Wagner checks in. Chiara takes the serve. Van Rokel to Giorgio. Heyerts sends it over. Wagner is going to dive there with the one-armed attempt. It's going to be no bueno. Heyerts steps back to serve. Huskies lead 12-6. Wagner to Nelson. Nice shot by Josie Curry. She had some oomph behind that one. Natalie Heyerts back to serve. Well, that's going to roll over the net there. Nice little fake out. Timeout called by the Lady Bulldogs. So take one along with them. You're watching high school volleyball action brought to you by Fuller Digital Solutions.
If you're considering a new roof, you want to put your roof in the hands of Dave's Roofing. Dave's Roofing specializes in residential roofing and has over 10 years of experience. Dave's Roofing covers any job from a 60 to 80 mile radius of Sioux City and has a 10-man crew that completes most jobs in one day. Dave's Roofing will make sure the cleanup job is done right afterwards too. And the products installed are impact rated and eligible for homeowners insurance discounts. Look up Dave's Roofing on Facebook and check out the work that's been done and customer testimonials.
Welcome back to Madison, EPJ Husky fans. If you're just joining us, Huskies lead 14-6 here in the second set. They took the first set 25-19. Huskies are lining up to serve. Natalie Heyerts sends it over, and that's going to go out. It was a good eye by those Lady Bulldogs. Unfortunately, it does not go in our favor. Heyerts checks out as Kitka checks in. Chloe Sargent back to serve, if I'm reading that correctly. She's on the JV list and she's not listed on the varsity list. So, that's a tough call for Hannah Neerman. Looked out to me too, but that is just going to get a piece of that line there. Sargent sets back up to serve. Neerman to Giorgio. Curry tips it, with the tip attempt. That's not going to quite make it over. Sargent back to serve. Neerman to Giorgio. Danica sends it over the net. Oh, and Curry's going to send it right back. Feed to Nelson, and Neerman gets right under that over to Sophia. Caitlin sends it over. Feed to Nelson. She's got quite a hook on that. And she can get her jump and her angle right. That's an excellent spike by Audrey Nelson. Sargent steps back to serve. Neerman gets on it. Giorgio to Curry. Sends it back to Sargent. Feed. Nelson tips it over to the back. Kitka to Giorgio. Torres with the tip. Nelson to feed. And Nelson tips it over. Sophia with the recovery there. Feed to Wagner. And Vacanti's going to set it over to the back row. Van Rokel to Giorgio. Curry with the tip, and that blocked at the net, sent right back over. They're going to find that hole there. EPJ is going to take a quick break after that run of Bulldog point racking.
In the last 30 years, computers went from how you checked the news to where you do your banking, your shopping, to where you hold all of your most important business and personal information. Two Dogs Computing in Elk Point is your expert for PC repair, data recovery and backup, virus and spyware detection and removal, website design, home and business networking solutions. Don't leave it to chance. Contact Brian at Two Dogs Computing today.
And we are back as these teams break up their timeout huddles. Huskies still lead 14-11. Bulldogs had a bit of a run there. Chloe Sargent continues to serve. That's going to go out. Good call by the back row of Husky girls. 15-11. Danica Torres sets up to serve. Zenz to feed. Wagner sends it over. Van Rokel to Giorgio. Curry blocked at the net there. Point Huskies. Torres continues to serve. Ooh, unfortunately that's going to go into the net there. 16-12. Still a good buffer on the lead. Vacanti gets ready to set up to serve. Kitka to Nelson to Vacanti. Nelson's going to get that power arm ready. Then Rokel got a piece of it. We want to get the whole thing. Vacanti to Torres. Giorgio sets it up for Kohlbaum, sends it over. Zenz gets under it. Vacanti at the net. Nelson with the tip over. What a good block at the net. Unfortunately, she just found that hole there. Vacanti sends it back over. Torres gets under it. Giorgio sends it over in two. Wagner to Vacanti. Nelson tips it over. Kitka to Giorgio. Curry sends it to the back. Vacanti to Wagner. Over to Nelson. Giorgio sets it up for Kohlbaum. Vacanti to Wagner. And Nelson's going to send that into the net. Huskies recover the serve. Brewer checks in for Van Rokel. And Sophia Giorgio steps back to serve. Zenz gets under it, over to Vacanti. Nelson sends it over. Torres gets under it. Feed. Sends it over, and that's going to be out. Good call by Caitlin Van Rokel there. Got some little helpers there in the back with the ball. They like to help the big kids. Kitka sends it right into Zenz's shoulder, earning us another point. 19-15. Kitka steps back to serve. Zenz gets under it. Vacanti at the net. Nelson's going to roll that over. substitution here. Zenz comes out for Carly Lurs to check in. Nelson back to serve. Torres. Giorgio sets it up. Hyatt sends it over. She's going to find that hole. Holbaum checks out as Hannah Neerman checks in. Neerman sends it over. Feed to Vacanti. Huskies get it over. Vacanti over to Lurs. Giorgio under it. Torres with the attempt. It's going to go in favor of Madison. Get another check out here. Now Lydia Nelson checks out as Carly Thebe checks in. Hannah to Natalie, over to Danica, sends it over. Thede to Thede, over to Schoenberg. Blocked at the net by Brewer. Nelson to Thede, and Lurs sends it over. Heyerts, power arms, going to send that out of bounds. 18-20, Huskies lead, and Thede continues with her serve for the Madison Bulldogs. Kitka, Giorgio sets it up for Torres. That's going to be just out of bounds. It was super close. Huskies with the 1-point lead. Madison getting excited here. Feed over to Brewer. Kitka gets under it. Torres tip attempt over. It's going to just hang out there on the top of the net for a second before rolling the other way. Madison ties it up as EPJ calls a timeout. We'll take one right along with them. We'll be back after these messages.
Since the 1960s, McLaury Engineering, Inc. has been committed to providing professional civil engineering and land surveying services to our tri-state public and private clients. We're a small firm focused on serving every client with professional and technical insights drawn from decade-long relationships. We will deliver the best engineered, planned, economical design projects for our clients through our knowledgeable staff. Contact McLaury Engineering, Inc. and find us online, McLauryEngineering.com.
All right, we are back. Feed continues with her serving streak. It is tied up 20-20. Kitka gets under it. Giorgio sets it up for Brewer. Feed to Feed. And Schoenberg attempted to send it over, and that's going to go in the net. Huskies regain their lead. Brewer checks out as Caitlin Van Rokel checks in. I may not know a lot about volleyball here, but I do know that a lot of these senior girls, they TA in the elementary and whatnot, and those littles just look up to them. They just love having them in the classroom. They do such a nice job. Kitka gets under it. Giorgio to Heyerts. Nelson with the dive. Schoenberg sends it over to Feed, sends it over. Heyerts gets under it. Giorgio sets it up, and it's going to go to Torres. Blocked at the net, recovered by Heyerts. Schoenberg gets under it, and Lurs is going to send that into the net. Bulldogs are going to take their timeout now. We'll take one along with them, and we'll be back.
Turbulent Games of Parker, your locally owned and operated family-friendly gaming store. They have a wide variety of Magic the Gathering cards going back at least 3 years, Pokemon cards, and more. They host a high school Dungeons & Dragons night every Thursday, and players from around the area are always welcome. They have a wide variety of miniatures and miniature games for your enjoyment. Visit Turbulent Games of Parker, your local store for all things gaming.
Welcome back. Van Rokel steps back to serve, sends it over to Vacanti to Feed, and Vacanti is going to send it over, blocked by Heyerts. Vacanti with the second attempt, and it's going to be taken by Neerman. Over to Giorgio. Torres sends it over. Feed to feed. And we're going to send it over by Bacanti. Kitka gets under it. Giorgio sets it up for Torres. Blocked there at the net. And that is going to go to Madison. Wagner checks in as Schoenberg checks out. And Wagner steps back to serve for the Madison Bulldogs. Neerman gets under it. Sophia sets it up. And Torres sets it, tips it over. Wagner sends it back. Van Rokel to Giorgio, and Heyerts with the power arm. Madison recovers. Kitka to Giorgio, and that's going to tie it back up here. 22 all. Wagner continues her serve. Van Rokel to Giorgio. Heyerts blocked at the net by Madison. Neerman on the dive. Not quite going to make it there. Madison's going to take the lead here now. 23-22 in this second set. Crowd is getting into it. Wagner on her streak. Neerman to Giorgio. Heyerts. And she's going to catch her off guard. She's going to send that into the stands as Huskies tie it back up. 23 all. Curry checks in. Kitka checks out. And Heyerts steps back to serve. Lurs gets under it to feed. Vacanti sends it over. And that's going to hit right on the line. Sargent checks in for Lurs. And she gets set up to serve. Bulldogs lead 24-23. Sargent sends it over. Neerman gets under it. Giorgio sets it up. Curry sets it over. Feed sets it back. Van Rokel to Giorgio to Curry. And Vacanti is going to get it in two. Huskies tie it up 24 all. And Danica Torres regains service. Neerman checks out. I didn't see who checked in. I apologize. I think it's Kolbaum. Torres to Sargent. And Huskies take it 25-24. This is game point if we can do it in two. Torres sends it over. Sargent gets under it to feed. Over to Ostis. Giorgio sets it up for Torres. Wagner to Sargent. There's going to be a bit of some confusion there. And that's going to do it for the Huskies. Take it in 26-24 in the second set. We will be back after these breaks, after these messages, for a third set of volleyball action.
Strong, integrated, customized. Thermobond is headquartered in Elk Point, South Dakota. And for over 30 years, we've been providing lightweight and precast solutions for multiple industries nationwide.
Vermilion Medical Clinic is your trusted hometown healthcare provider. We provide family medicine and pediatrics with specialists in audiology, ear, nose, and throat, general surgery, nephrology, obstetrics and gynecology, orthopedic surgery, pulmonology, and urology. Vermilion Medical Clinic. So much care, so close to home.
And we are back here for the third set of high school volleyball action. Huskies take the court as the Bulldogs finish up some last-minute instruction, possibly some change-ups. You see their coach is down at the officials' table. writing some things down. Not sure what is happening, but I'll pretend all night long. Reminder, we have some football action on Thursday next week as the Huskies take on Redfield. Thursday night kickoff at 6 for our second round of playoffs. Huskies are currently setting 9-0, and we wish them the best of luck. Parent-teacher conferences coming up on Monday. If you haven't signed up yet, please do so. Come meet your teacher or discuss your child's progress, and then we have an early dismissal on Monday as well. 4 conferences. Conferences run from 1 to 8 p.m. on Monday, October 24th. And then on Tuesday, we have some more volleyball action in Vermilion as Huskies take on the Tanagers. Wagner steps back to serve for this first serve of the third set. She sends that over to Kitka. Giorgio sets it up to Kohlbaum. Feed gets under it, sets it back to Ostis. Giorgio to Kohlbaum. He blocks at the net, sent back and forth there. Kitka to Giorgio. And Curry with the tip. Wagner gets under it to Feed. And Vacanti sends it over. Oh, and Torres got the piece of it as Kitka takes the dive. Can't recover quite in time to jump back up for that second hit. Wagner continues to serve as Madison earns the first point of this third set. Kitka to Giorgio. Whistle is blown. Don't ask me why. I couldn't tell you. Trying to watch this stuff. Sometimes these calls, I'm confused as to who did what. Wagner sends it to Torres. Giorgio gets it to Kohlbaum. Recovered there. They're going to call that 2 hits. We have Ashley Brewer checking in for Caitlin Van Rokel. Sophia Giorgio steps back to serve. Feed to Feed. Nelson blocked at the net there by Curry, and Brewer tying it up 2-all. Giorgio continuing with her serve. Wagner to Feed. Vacanti sets it over. Kitka to Giorgio to Torres. And that's going to drop between those Lady Bulldogs, giving Huskies a 1-point lead, 3-2 here. Huskies took the first set, 25-19. Then they took the second set, 26-24. And they lead this third set, 3-2. Wagner to Feed. Nelson sends it over, and right in that back corner to tie it back up, 3-all. Kitka on the attempt there. Feed checking out. Lydia Nelson checks in. Vacanti steps back to serve. Torres to Giorgio to Brewer. He's going to attempt to that back pocket there, but not quite going to make it. That's going to go out, giving the Bulldogs the lead. Vacanti sends it over. Kohlbaum gets under it. Nelson with that spike. Just going to send it between Kohlbaum and Kitka there. Vacanti sends it over to Torres. Giorgio sets it up for Curry. It's going to be screened at the net there and heads out of bounds. Huskies creep back up, trailing by 1. Kitka steps back to serve, sends it to Wagner, to Vacanti, and Nelson is going to slam it over. 6-4 here for the Lady Bulldogs. Feed steps back to serve. She's going to send that out. Good eye by that back row. Kohlbaum checks out. Hannah Neerman checks in to serve. Nelson finds that weak spot. Neerman on the dive. Wagner checking out. Lydia Nelson steps back to serve. Audrey Nelson steps back to serve. Brewer to Giorgio. Back to Brewer. Vacanti gets under it. Feed. Sets it over to Schoenberg. Kitka to Giorgio. And Heyerts finds that pocket. Huskies trail by 1. Brewer checks out. Van Rokel checks in. Van Rokel steps back to serve. Feed with the attempt, doesn't quite make it. That's going to tie it up here this evening, 7-all. Van Rokel steps back to serve again. Feed over to Vacanti. And Nelson tips it over, and that's going to be rushed there by the Huskies. Nelson checks out. Feed checks in. Feed to serve. Van Rokel to Neerman. Kitka sends it over. Feed to Feed. Vacanti sends it over, and that's going to be out. We're tied up 8-all. Curry checks in. Heyerts steps back to serve. Over to Feed to Feed. Nelson sends it over. Neerman. Heyerts is going to send that out. Kitka checks out. Heyerts checks out. Kitka checks in. Schoenberg steps back to serve. Schoenberg continues to serve. And that serve is going to catch Hannah off guard there. Schoenberg sends it out. Huskies earn point there. Feed to Feed. Vacanti sends it over. Kitka gets under it. Giorgio sets it up for Kohlbaum. Blocked at the net and then recovered by the Bulldogs. Van Rokel to Giorgio. Curry sends it over, and Feed's going to dive and miss that one. So we are going to trail by 1 now. Torres to Feed. Nelson, and Vacanti's going to miss that one there. Huskies tied up 11-11. Danica Torres steps back to serve. Officials got some concerns with the Bulldogs formation here. Play resumes. Torres sends it over. Feed to Feed. Over to Lurs, and that's going to drop there. Madison regains the lead, 12-11. Wagner sets up to serve. Lurs checks out for the Lady Bulldogs. Wagner sends it over to Kitka. Giorgio gets under it. Kohlbaum with the attempt. She's going to send that into the net. 13-11. Curry sent that one over. Feed to Nelson with the slam. 14-11. Wagner steps back to serve. Kitka to Giorgio. Josie at the net there. And Kohlbaum's going to regain that one. Giorgio on the recovery over to Kitka, and Kohlbaum sends it over. Got tongue-tied there for second and had a brain fart. Giorgio steps back to serve. Wagner to feed. Giorgio with the dive. They're going to call a lift on the Huskies. Madison's going to regain the serve. Vacanti steps back to take over. Vacanti to Kohlbaum. Giorgio sets it up for Josie. Feed, and then Nelson's going to misjudge that one. 15-13. Kitka steps back to serve. Nelson to Vacanti. Nelson tips it over. That's going to be a point for the Madison Bulldogs. Huskies call a timeout. We'll take one along with them.
All the best sports shows, all the best games on 101.5 FM and 1570 AM for your college sports, University of South Dakota. For NHL coverage, Minnesota Wild. For NBA coverage, Minnesota Timberwolves. For MLB coverage, Chicago Cubs. And the best games in both college and the pros with the ESPN Radio featured games. Never miss out on the action.
And we are back. Feed on the serve as Madison leads 16-13 here in this regular season volleyball game. Torres over to Giorgio. Hyatt sends it over, and Schoenberg's going to send that into the net. Huskies earn another point. Given a 2-point spread here. Got Neerman checking out. Kohlbaum checking out. Neerman checking in. Neerman to feed. To Vacanti to Nelson. Kitka. With the rush there. Not quite going to make it in time. Nelson sets up to serve. Brewer to Giorgio. Brewer tips it over. Nelson to Vacanti. Schoenberg punches it up. Torres to Giorgio, and Hyatt is going to send that out. A lot of power there. Oh, wait. 17-15. Huskies regain the serve. Van Rokel sends it over. Nelson to Vacanti, over to Schoenberg, and that's going to go out. Huskies trail by 1, looking to make that leap to the lead. Van Rokel to serve. And that's going to go out. Nelson checks out for Theed. Carly Theed takes the serve. Then Rokel to Giorgio with the tip. As Nelson gets under it to Theed, and Schoenberg sends it over. Then Rokel to Giorgio, and Torres sends it over to Theed, and Nelson spikes that into the net. Huskies trail by 1, still looking to leap into the lead here. Hyatt steps back to serve. Nelson sends it over to Vacanti, sets it over, and then Rokel with the attempt. Schoenberg steps back to serve for the Lady Bulldogs. Neerman's going to get a piece of that, send it into the bleachers behind her. I always hate to see that happen. Schoenberg sends it over. Van Rokel to Kitka. Curry. Coach Cooper takes a timeout. We'll take one along with him.
Elk Point native Dr. Devin Penfield and the team at the dentist at Elk Point believe that your family deserves the highest level of dental care in a friendly and relaxing atmosphere. That's why they're happy to provide the community with a low-stress, comfortable dental home. Patients are loving and having the latest technology in a small-town setting. Dr. Penfield and her team enjoy serving such a wonderful community. Schedule your appointment today by calling 605-356-2271.
Welcome back, Husky fans. Madison leads 21-17 as Schoenberg continues her serving streak. Would love to see the Huskies make a comeback here so we can end this in 3 and get home early on a Friday night from Madison. Van Rokel over to Giorgio. Torres sets it over. Nelson to Theed. And Torres gets under it. Giorgio, Nelson to Theed. And Vacanti is going to send that in. Schoenberg back to serve. She's going to send that into the net. Huskies regain the serve. Schoenberg checks out. Theed checks in. Neerman checks out, and Kolbaum checks in. Danica Torres steps back to serve. That is good. What? The fans and I do not agree. That was on the line. Line judge called that one out. Wagner to serve. Van Rokel to Giorgio. Torres sends that into the net. This is going to be game point for the Bulldogs. Wagner sends it over. Kitka gets it to Giorgio. Curry sends it over. Giorgio sets up to serve. Vacanti to feed to Nelson. That power arm. That's going to take it to the fourth set here. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back with some more volleyball action here this Friday evening.
Ready to start a career with an exciting team? Thermobond is looking to add to our team of experts. We offer competitive wages, a positive work environment, and on-the-job training. Thermobond is headquartered in Elk Point, South Dakota, and for over 30 years we've been providing lightweight and precast solutions for multiple industries nationwide. Check us out and see if you'd like to start a new career with us today.
In the last 30 years, computers went from how you checked the news to where you do your banking, your shopping, to where you hold all of your most important business and personal information. Two Dogs Computing in Elk Point is your expert for PC repair, data recovery and backup, virus and spyware detection and removal, website design, home and business networking solutions. Don't leave it to chance. Contact Brian at Two Dogs Computing today.
Welcome back, Husky fans. We are here getting ready for the fourth set of the evening. Huskies took the first set 25-19 and the second set 26-24. Madison took the third set 25-19. Huskies break the huddle. Reminder, folks, there are parent-teacher conferences coming up on Monday next week with an early dismissal. And then Friday next week, there is no school for the teacher comp day. You want to add those to your schedules if you have not yet already. We've got players ready to go, officials checking positions, or whatever it is they do down there at the table. I'll be honest, sometimes I just listen to Jeff and Kendall talk and I try to pick up a little bit here and there so I have something to say when I have to take my turn at the announcing helm. Reminder too, good luck to the EPJ cross country team as they are at the state meet tomorrow in Huron. Ashley Stark and Joe Cross are competing. Ashley Stark will run at noon and Joe Cross will run at 1:30. If you are able to check those out and cheer on our Husky cross country team. Good luck to those athletes tomorrow. Torres chases down the ball to get this fourth set off and running this evening. Torres sends it over to Vacanti. Feed to Vacanti, blocked at the net, rolls right in. Huskies will take that first point. Torres, get another one just like the other one. Vacanti to Feed. Nelson taps it over. Kitka to Giorgio. Feed to Feed, and Vacanti sets it to the back row. Kitka to Giorgio. Kohlbaum sends it over, blocked at the net, but bounces out of bounds. Huskies lead 2-0 here in the fourth set. Danica continues her serve. Wagner to Feed. Curry at the net, good recovery by Kohlbaum. Feed to Nelson, and Van Rokel on the attempt there. Feed's going to check out as Nelson checks in. Vacanti steps back to serve for the Lady Bulldogs. Kitka to Giorgio. Kohlbaum. Kohlbaum catches Wagner off guard. Brewer checking in. Van Rokel checking out. Giorgio sends it over. Feed to Vacanti. Nelson is going to get it by Kohlbaum there. Ostis checks out as Schoenberg checks in. Feed, sends it over. Torres gets under it. Giorgio sets it up. Brewer tips it over. Vacanti with the recovery. Schoenberg sends it over. Kitka to Giorgio. And Kohlbaum right through those Madison Bulldogs. Huskies lead 4-2. Heierts checks in. Curry checks out. Kitka sets up to serve. Kitka to feed. Vacanti sets it up. Nelson tips it over. Torres to Giorgio. Brewer sends it to the back. Feed gets under it. Vacanti with the attempt, and that's going to be no good there. Huskies lead 5-2. Kitka sends it over. Wagner's not going to have enough oomph under that ball to get it up for teammates. Point Huskies. Kitka back to serve. Wagner over to Vacanti. Nelson sends it to that back corner. Unfortunately, you can only cover so much area. Lurs checking in for Wagner. Nelson steps back to serve. That's going to go out. Good call by those Lady Huskies. 7-3. Kohlbaum checks out. Neerman checks in. Huskies lead this matchup 2-1. Neerman sends it over. Schoenberg. Neerman steps back to serve. Sends it over to Schoenberg. Vacanti with the fake out, finds that hole. Nelson checks out. Speed checks in. Feed to serve. Kitka to Giorgio. Brewer. Feed to feed. And Nelson sends it over. Neerman to Giorgio to Torres. Feed sets it up for Feed. And Schoenberg sends it over. Neerman attempts to get under it. Feed continues her serve. Huskies lead 8-5 here in the fourth set. Neerman to Giorgio. Torres sends it over. Feed to feed. Heierts reaches out. Giorgio to Brewer. That's going to go in that back pocket. Rotation here. We've got Brewer checking out as Van Rokel checks in. Ball confusion in the back there. Van Rokel sends it over to Nelson. Nelson to feed. Schoenberg sends it over. Kitka to Giorgio. Heierts catches them off guard. They're going to just attempt to protect their face there. Huskies break the double digits. Van Rokel sends it over to Nelson. Feed. Vacanti tips it over. They are going to touch that net. And Huskies will take that 11-5 as Madison calls a timeout. And we will take one along with them. You're watching high school volleyball action brought to you by Fuller Digital Solutions.
Strong, integrated, customized. Thermobond is headquartered in Elk Point, South Dakota. And for over 30 years, we've been providing lightweight and precast solutions for multiple industries nationwide.
Welcome back, Husky fans. Huskies lead this fourth set, 11-5. Van Rokel continues to serve. Feed to feed. Conti sends it over to Torres. Giorgio sets it up for Heyerts. And Feed's going to get a piece of that and send it off into the Madison student section. 12-5 here. Van Rokel continues to serve. Nelson, the feed. McConty sends it out. That looked out to me, but line judge says, not today. Madison sets up to serve. Schoenberg takes this one. Meerman, Giorgio at the net. That's not going to quite make it over. Madison gains another point, trailing by 5 here in this fourth set. Schoenberg sends it into the net. That's going to go in favor of the Huskies. Kitka checks out, Curry checks in, and Heyerts gets situated for serving. Feed to feed at the net. They are going to call that in favor of the Huskies. 14-7 here. Heyerts sends it over. Lurs to feed. Lurs sends it over. Van Rokel to Giorgio. Curry tips it over. Nice recovery by Madison. Vacanti sends it over. I think Heyerts grabbed a piece of that one. Wagner's going to take over serving here. Neerman gets under it. Giorgio sets it up for Curry. Curry sends it over. And, oh, that is going to be a good recovery there by... I don't know what happened there. I thought that was a good play. Apparently not. Huskies, 15-8. And this is why I don't call volleyball games. Torres sends it over to Vacanti, over to Feed, and Nelson's going to send it over to that back line. That one was definitely in. Nelson checking in for Feed. Vacanti sets up to serve. Van Rokel attempts with the set. It's not going to quite go in her favor. 15-10. Call that out. Good call by Van Rokel there. Van Rokel checking out. Brewer checking in. Giorgio sets up to serve. Huskies lead 16-10. Feed over to Nelson. Nelson sends it over. Kohlbaum to Giorgio. Brewer. Bulldogs at the net. Good recovery by Curry. Over to too many hits there by the Madison Lady Bulldogs. That's going to go in favor of the Huskies. Giorgio sends it over. Wagner gets under it. Vacanti sets it up. Nelson Tips it over. Giorgio to Kitka. Kohlbaum's going to send that into the net. A testament to Mrs. Love's cheering program. Watching these football games, I can't get some of the cheers out of my head now, so I apologize if I bust into song. Theed sends it over. Torres gets under it. Giorgio sets up Kohlbaum. Attempted block at the net. Wagner to Vacanti, and Nelson sends it over. Oh, we had a change in score here. I don't know what happened there. Went from 18 to 17. 17-12 in favor of the Huskies. Theed sends it over. Kohlbaum sends it right back. Schoenberg to Vacanti, and some confusion at the net. They're going to send it under instead of over. 18-12. Curry checks out. Hires checks in, and Kitka takes over serve. Kitka over to Theed. Vacanti gets under it, and Nelson sends it over to the back row. Kitka. Giorgio sets it up for Hires. They're going to call a lift on Kohlbaum, I believe. 13-18 in favor of the EPJ Huskies. Nelson steps back to serve. That is going to be in. That's going to be right on the line there. 18-14. Nelson's serve is good. Torres gets it over to Giorgio. Brewer sends it over. Nelson under it to Schoenberg. Vacanti sends it to the back. Torres to Giorgio to Hires. Theed gets under it. Vacanti recovers. Schoenberg Lurs sends it over. Torres sets up Brewer. Theed with that pancake there. Nelson sends it over. Torres to Giorgio, and Hires set that one over. Nelson to Kitka to Giorgio. Over to Kohlbaum, blocked at the net by the Lady Bulldogs. It's always a good feeling when you run a volley like that and you end up taking the point. Good play by the Madison Bulldogs. Good effort by the EPJ Huskies. Always want to see your own team win, but it's nice to watch a good game. Torres to Giorgio. Hires sends it over. Nelson gets under it. Vacanti sets it up, and Nelson sends it over. Torres to Hires. Lurs at the net. Vacanti sends it over. Kitka to Giorgio. To Torres. Feed. And that is going to go in favor of EPJ. Kohlbaum checks out. Neerman checks in. She gets ready to serve. Brewer, Hires, and Torres at the net as Kitka and Giorgio talk it up. And not quite recovered from that pancake there. Madison's going to call a timeout. We'll take one right along with them. We'll be back in a minute.
In the last 30 years, computers went from how you checked the news to where you do your banking, your shopping, to where you hold all of your most important business and personal information. Two Dogs Computing in Elk Point is your expert for PC repair, data recovery and backup, virus and spyware detection and removal, website design, home and business networking solutions. Don't leave it to chance. Contact Brian at Two Dogs Computing today.
The volleyball action here. Neerman sets up to serve. I was told that if I'm going to give shout outs, people have to cover my recess duty for me. So if you're willing to cover some. Ooh, that was a good hustle. Glad to see no injuries occurred. I remember a deal in a couple years ago. Alyssa's older sister, Caitlin Kitka, I believe she took a dive at a championship game and ended up with staples in her head that day. Nearman over to Giorgio. Torres blocked at the net there. Giorgio to Heyerts. Thied gets a piece of it, and Thied sends it over. Kitka to Giorgio. Heyerts. And that will be in favor of the Huskies. 21-16 here in the fourth set. Brewer checks out, and Van Rokel checks in. Yeah, those dives where they're going head-to-head there can wind up pretty dangerous, so glad nobody got hurt. Van Rokel to Nelson. Feed. Vacanti. It's going to drop there. And Madison will regain the serve. Feed checks out, and Ostis checks in. Schoenberg to serve. Nearman. Giorgio sets it up for Heyerts. Heyerts is going to get that just outside that line. That one was a good call by that line judge. Unfortunately, wasn't in our favor. But we appreciate these officials taking the time to do what they do. Schoenberg sends it over. Van Rokel gets under it. Kitka sets it up for Torres. Feed at the net. Lurs sends it over, and it is out. I think they touched it, though. Timeout called. We'll take one with them. We'll be back here in a second. Watching volleyball action brought to you by Fuller Digital Solutions.
Ray Hybrids was founded in 1970 by Wendell Ray near Bath, South Dakota. Wendell's son joined the business in 1976. Over the years, the two succeeded and prospered by focusing on what matters most, the needs of farmers in the North. Ray Hybrids serve their farmers by working alongside them to understand what seed products work best in their fields and provide specific recommendations that fit the local environment. Visit them online at ray-hybrids.com. That's ray-hybrids.com to learn more about their proven products.
Welcome back to the action here, folks. Huskies lead 21-19. Schoenberg sends it over. Giorgio sets it up for Torres. Vacanti with the recovery. Lurs sends it over. Kitka to Giorgio to Heyerts. And Nelson's going to send that into the stands. 22-19 here in the fourth set. Huskies lead 2-1. Heyerts sets up to serve. Heyerts to Ostis, to Thied, to Vacanti. And Rokel gets under it. Nearman sends it back, and Curry's gonna with the hustle, but it's gonna send that into the stands there. 22-20. Lurs checks out. Wagner checks in. Wagner sets it over. Van Rokel to Giorgio. Curry blocked at the net there by the Madison Bulldogs. Feed sends it over to, oh, nice pancake, Hannah. Feed sets it up for Vacanti. Kitka. Giorgio sets it up for Curry. Wagner to Feed. Blocked at the net by Curry. Vacanti. Feed. Van Rokel to Giorgio. And Curry's going to send it back to Feed. Feed at the net. Nelson sets it over. Nearman to Giorgio. Torres. And then it's going to be blocked at the net. And poor Danica got that right in her face. Timeout. We'll take one along with them.
Jensen Insurance in Beersford, Elk Point, and Sioux Falls has been building relationships since 1944. We want to take care of what matters to you most, protecting your family, farm, business, or vehicles. We work with several companies to find you the best coverages and help cut your insurance costs. Visit our website for a complete list of insurance coverage options. You can trust that Jensen Insurance cares about you, just like we have for over 76 years. Visit us at jensenagencyonline.com or call 605-356-2037.
Welcome back EPJ fans, thank you for joining us this evening. Wagner sets up to serve for the Lady Bulldogs. Huskies still working on breaking their huddle. Huskies lead 22-21. Wagner sends it over. Van Rokel to Giorgio. To Curry, blocked at the net, recovered by Van Rokel. Giorgio gets under it. Kitka sends it over. Wagner to feed. Nelson, and that's going to go out, but that was an excellent hustle by Hannah Neerman. Madison ties it up, 22-22. Wagner sends it over. Van Rokel to Giorgio. To Curry. Curry finds that hole, and they are just not going to get there in time. Huskies grab that lead again, 23-22. Neerman checks out. Kohlbaum checks in. And Danica Torres heads back to serve. 23-22, Huskies with the 1-point lead. Vacanti to Feed. Feed sends it over. Kohlbaum to Giorgio. Curry tips it over. Wagner to Feed. Nelson with the tip. They're going to call that out. Huskies with the game point. Match point. All I know is if we get one more, we win. Torres sets up to serve. And that's going to go in the net. Nelson checks in, Feed checks out, and Vacanti steps back to serve. Kitka to Giorgio. Kohlbaum sends it over. Vacanti recovers. Feed. Ostis sends it over. Kitka sends it over. Vacanti to Feed. To Ostis. It's going to be short, and that is going to do it here for the Huskies and the Bulldogs. Congratulations to the EPJ Huskies on their win here in Madison. Reminder, parent-teacher conferences on Monday, early dismissal. No school Friday for the teacher comp day. Husky football, Thursday night kickoff against Redfield. It's a 6 p.m. kickoff, second round of playoffs. State cross country is happening tomorrow in Huron. Good luck to Joe and Ashley, Joe Cross and Ashley Stark. Let's see what else we got going on. Vermilion volleyball on Tuesday. And I believe that is our last regular season volleyball game, and then we'll head off into the playoffs. Good luck to everybody in the EPJ Nation who is competing in any kind of athletic, academic, or extracurricular activity. And that'll do it for me this evening. We'll see you back here again on Thursday with Jeff and Kendall on the call. Always welcome those two back so that I do not have to do this. Have a good night, folks, and we'll see you back on Thursday.